Hello, everybody. How are you doing? It's a little bit windy out here, but we'll make do. I'm Michelle. I am going to be reading today from Jim Stevens' book, 101 Proofs for God. And I am going to be reading chapter 17. It's called Dr. Antony Flew. This proof is what I'm going This proof is what I'm going to call a piggyback proof. I propose that you accept the word of a really smart person who searched for the truth about God for his whole life in a very unusual way. In 2004, after about 50 years as one of the world's leading and best known atheists, Antony Flew came to the conclusion that there must be God. After a lifetime of probing philosophical inquiry, this towering and courageous intellect has now concluded the evidence leads conclusively to God. Antony Flew has been for most of his life a very well-known philosophical champion of atheism. Other atheists were quick Other atheists were quick to call him senile and said that he was manipulated in his old age by certain Christians. He denied it and came out with a book called There Is a God: How the World's Most Notorious Atheist Changed His Mind. It tells his story and the arguments that convinced him. There are videos on YouTube of his appearances if you search under Antony Flew. I now believe that the universe was brought into existence. This is Antony Flew. This is a quote from Antony Flew. I now believe that the universe was brought into existence by an infinite intelligence. I believe that this universe's intricate laws manifest what scientists have called the mind of God. Very cool. I believe that life and reproduction originate in a divine source. This is a fascinating and very readable account of how a distinguished philosopher who was a militant atheist for most of his working life came to believe in the intelligent design of the universe. A stellar philosophical mind ponders the latest scientific results. The conclusion: a God stands behind the rationality of nature. Flew was not your average atheist. He was considered a brilliant philosopher who, at a very young age, in 1950, published a paper called Theology and Falsification on Atheism that is the most widely reprinted over the last 50 years and has been highly influential in philosophy around the world. Antony Flew was always involved in the highest levels of the academic world, even having a professorship at Oxford. He kept up on the latest philosophical arguments for and against God, as well as the latest scientific research into the origins of life and the universe. One of his greatest virtues was his commitment to academic integrity and dedication. to the Socratic method of following the evidence wherever it might lead. Unfortunately, it was a development in modern science that convinced him that there must be an intelligent source that designed and created the universe. The Big Bang Theory, namely, that the universe had a beginning something like 13 billion years ago, does not allow for enough time in order for the complexity of life that we observe to have developed according to evolution. Also, research discoveries in microbiology and DNA led him to the same conclusion, namely, that there must have been an intelligent cause. This man was one of the greatest and most respected philosophical minds of the 20th century. He debated far and wide those who believed in a God. For him to finally change his mind after 50 years of debating, believing, and researching is a monumental change, certainly not done lightly or easily. His change completely negates the idea that only common people who are uneducated and haven't done the research can believe in a God. Secondly, he must have known the incredible hatred that would be unleashed on him from the atheistic community if he betrayed their beliefs. He responded as ever with kindness and gentleness, which is all too evident in the book he wrote, There Is a God. In it, he patiently spells out the philosophical journey he had taken in life, and clearly what led him to change his mind so all the world could know. When Antony flew in the spirit of free thinking, followed the evidence where he thought it led, namely to theism, he was roundly denounced by supposed free thinkers in the severest of terms. He had, it seemed, committed the unpardonable sin. This man understood all the arguments for atheism inside and out. In fact, he created some of those arguments himself. He was the author of 30 books. All his life, he wanted to follow the evidence to find the truth, and he ended up accepting that there must be God. Wow. In fact, my two main anti-theological books were both written long before either the development of the Big Bang cosmology or the introduction of the fine-tuning argument from physical constants. But since the early 1980s, I had begun to reconsider. I confessed at that point that atheists have to be embarrassed by the contemporary cosmological consensus, for it seemed that the cosmologists were providing a scientific proof of what St. Thomas Aquinas contended could not be proved philosophically, namely that the universe had a beginning. In 2007, Flew was interviewed by Benjamin Weicker. He said again that his deism was the result of his growing empathy with the insight of Einstein and other noted scientists that there had to be an intelligence behind the integrated complexity of the physical universe, and my own insight that the integrated complexity of life itself, which is far more complex than the physical universe, can only be explained in terms of an intelligent source. You could do all the research yourself and study all the arguments for and against God, or you could just take a shortcut and check out what Antony Flew has to say. I enjoyed reading his book very much, although at times the philosophy was over my head. He was clearly a brilliant thinker. So, anyway, there must be God. So, thank you so much, Jim, for telling us about Antony Flew. And wow, that's really quite amazing. One of the best scientific minds over many years, finally. Okay. He said there had to be God. Okay. Well, thank you so much for listening. Oh my goodness. Okay. So, chapter 18. Wow. Okay, it's going to be incredible. I'm not even going to tell you. You just have to come back. Okay. So, thank you so much for coming and listening. And again, we have so much food for thought. Have a really good day and a really nice Sunday. And I hope you have a great beginning to your week. Okay. Take care. See you another time.